Okay, so here we go. The Woman in the Yard, the latest Universal / Blumhouse big theatrical release. I finally sat through it. This was directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, a man who has brought you a good amount of decent movies in the past. The Jungle Cruise comes to mind. I loved that movie. I actually rewatched it recently with Lindsay, and it still holds up. It's still a lot of fun, albeit with some stupidity towards the end. I still feel like it cheats too much. But here he is directing a psychological horror movie. And we follow Ramona, played by Danielle Deadwyler, who is super solid in this. She is crippled by grief and depression after her husband dies in a car accident, leaves her all alone in her rural farmhouse to care for her 2 children. Her sadness soon turns to fear, though, when a spectral woman in black appears on her front lawn. And she comes with 3 simple words warning her, "Today's the day." And as the mysterious figure creeps closer and closer to the house, Ramona realizes she must protect her children from the evil woman who simply won't leave them alone. Man, talk about trespassing. How come these people didn't think to call the police or try to call the police? Don't know that I'm giving anything away. It's a horror movie. Characters do stupid things sometimes. But okay, guys, listen. I mentioned in my first thoughts video, I thought this movie was kind of boring. Because I feel like with a gimmick like a spectral woman just sitting in the front yard of a house and just getting closer and closer, ghostly figure, weird bumps in the night happening, I feel like, to me, I've come to the reason why I think this movie was as boring as I thought it was. There's only so much you can do with this gimmick. And it almost feels like once the woman in the yard actually appears, the movie kind of slows down even more so than it already was. And it doesn't really figure out what to do to create tension between hero and villain until maybe the final 15 to 20 minutes. Which I think for people who like Blumhouse projects will find this super exciting. I found it kind of generic. And I don't know if it's just something that's just kind of soured me on scary movies recently, especially from Blumhouse. Like, I feel like they just try too hard to appeal to the lowest common denominator. Jump scares, shadows, big jolts of crazy music. Like, I'm kind of indifferent to this formula now. And I'll also say this much about the movie. When the woman in the yard first appears, the heroes don't exactly make it easy to root for them. In the sense that they're constantly asking each other questions. Like, who's this woman? What is she doing here? Mommy, I'm scared. Please tell her to go away. Just the most baseline dialogue. And I don't really feel like these characters do much to intelligently go about this situation. Which honestly is a damn shame, because if there's one thing that I'll give this movie massive credit for, digging into the family drama. That's what I really like about the modern horror classics like a Hereditary, for example. Stuff that you can feasibly find scary. Nightmarish and traumatizing situations like a fatal car accident. That will set you up with trauma for life. And also coupling in the fact that our main character, the mother played by Danielle Deadwyler, is injured. That writes itself. That's a massive obstacle as it is. And we don't even necessarily need to get into the specifics of the injury. You just see that apparatus on her leg and how she's using her crutches, and you know that she is hurting. Not to mention the fact that her husband's f***ing dead, but, you know, beside the point. I do appreciate that the movie isn't trying to be more than it is. Jaume Collet-Serra, like I said, has put together a lot of super decent movies in the past. They're easy, they're marketable. The score for this movie, I think, is rock solid. And I cannot praise the cinematography of this movie nearly enough. Like, this movie is gorgeous. You don't necessarily get a lot of daytime scary movies either. Creatures of the night are more often found when the sun goes down. So to see this woman just sitting there in Sarah Winchester-like garb just in the middle of her front lawn, when it's about as bright as it is outside right now, that's still freaky as hell. So even though I give this movie a massive amount of credit in retrospect for the things it's trying to do, at the end of the day, it's still Blumhouse. So they're not really going to put together a groundbreaking scary movie experience. This is not going to hold up with the masterpieces of the past decade or so. But I still think it creates enough compelling family drama despite the gimmick, and despite the hurdles that the scripts kind of writes themselves into. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is a movie that I'm not going to want to revisit just because there's parts of it that felt super insanely slow and boring for my liking. But as a critic and objectively speaking, this movie deserves a massive amount of credit for the things that it tries to do to create an effective scary experience. So with that in mind, I'm going to give The Woman in the Yard a C. I know there's a lot of scary movie fanatics that are gonna love this movie. As someone who's a big fan of scary movies myself, I've definitely seen a lot better. Let me know what you thought of The Woman in the Yard down in the comments section below. What is your favorite Blumhouse project that you've seen? I love getting in front of this camera and getting to talk all things movies and entertainment with you guys on the regular. Hit that subscribe button if you're new and tap on that thumbs up as well, please. This channel is beginning the slow but steady march to 3,000 subscribers. I so appreciate your guys' continued support of this channel. Thank you so much again. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.